Welcome to the Niche Pursuits Podcast. Are you ready to discover some niche business ideas that actually work? Well, it's time for a motivational kick to jumpstart your next big idea. Here's your host, Spencer Haas.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Niche Pursuits Podcast. I'm your host, Spencer Haas from nichepursuits.com. And we've got hopefully another good podcast for you here today. I've got my co-host, Perrin. Perrin, why don't you give a shout out to everybody?
Hey, how's it going, guys?
I think it's going good.
Yeah, going good here. It's my favorite season. So like fall weather, hot cup of coffee. It's like my happiest time of year by far.
Yeah, even in Chicago?
Yeah, it's great. I mean, Chicago is getting a weird El Nino thing. So it's been like 65 degrees for the past 2 weeks.
Whoa.
So, and like partly cloudy and like leaves are all changing colors. So basically if I'm not working, I'm frolicking.
That's a nice mental image, Perrin frolicking with his cup of coffee through the leaves. But yeah, no, that's good. It's getting a little bit chilly where I'm at. Almost feels like winter's setting in already. Once it gets below like, I don't know, mid 50s, it just feels like winter to me. So, but yeah, we've got a good one today. We're going to actually talk about wrapping up Niche Site Projects 1 and 2. And before we do that, I thought I'd give people just a quick recap on my marathon. I had told people a while ago that I ran a marathon about a month and a half ago is when I ran my first marathon of the year. I've run 5 or 6 now, but first marathon in a couple of years that I had done went pretty good. I got my best time ever in 3:31:50 or something. Yeah. But my goal was under 3:30, so I wasn't 100% satisfied. So luckily I had another one coming up, and I just ran another marathon over the weekend. November 7th is when I ran it. Actually, my wife and I and a couple of friends, we traveled down to Southern California and ran the Canyon City Marathon.
Yeah.
And had a good time, spent almost a whole week playing around, went to Universal Studios and went to Knott's Berry Farm, and anyways, did a couple other fun things. But come race day, I put my game face on and got serious, and I actually ran the marathon in 3:23:49. So knocked off 8 minutes off my fastest time ever. Got way under that 3:30 mark. So I'm pretty happy about it.
Yeah, so congratulations. And
thanks. This
obviously isn't a running podcast, but for those of you who don't run marathons, maybe explain how big of a deal knocking off 8 minutes off your time is.
It's a very big deal for me. I mean, maybe there's some other marathoners out there that they knock off tons of time all the time, but to give people an idea, I mean, I have run, well, my previous 3 marathons, I ran one at 3:37, and then I really wanted to get under 3:30, but my next one was at like 3:33, and then my next one was at 3:31:50. So, I mean, even knocking off 1 or 2 minutes is kind of a big deal just to get faster. So 8 minutes, I mean, that's a lot.
Right.
We're talking, 20 seconds per mile faster, basically.
Yeah, it's
right?
Crazy.
Which is, yeah, it's good. So it was a little bit of a faster course. The first half was mostly downhill, but the second half was harder. There actually was quite a bit of uphill, more than I was expecting, but I was able to hold on and push through, ran a pretty good race, and did well. So there you go. Anybody that runs marathons out there, virtual fist bump. It felt good. So if you guys are running, let me know. I'd love to hear how your marathons are going. It's kind of my hobby that I do on the side when I'm not building websites and Amazon products and that sort of thing.
Yeah, well, congrats. That's, I don't know. It's cool. Whatever it is, if you've been working on it for several years, I think that is awesome. Those types of achievements are always super rewarding.
Yeah, no, it feels good. I've been out exercising just about 6 days a week for the whole year, and yeah, so it does feel good. So before we lose anybody, let's move on to the actual podcast, though. Let's talk about business. So we're going to go all the way back to Niche Site Projects 1 and 2, and we're going to write the final chapter. I feel like these are projects that have kind of been floating out there for a couple of years now. We need to wrap it all up and just tell everybody what happened and say we're done. Okay? And so that's exactly what we're going to do. Back in the very beginning of 2013, so almost 3 years ago, is when the first Niche Site project started. And to catch people up, basically, I wanted to build a niche site from scratch, going through the entire process of keyword research, writing content, building that site publicly so that everybody could see exactly what I was doing, and then sharing the earnings, the rankings, everything. And so that site that I built was bestsurvivalknifeguide.com. I was trying to rank for the term best survival knife, and the project went really well. I was actually ranked number 1 in Google fairly quickly, was making about $800 a month. And again, I went through this whole process of sharing everything, and people loved the project because they could visit the website. They knew what I was doing. I was explaining my methodology, and everything worked very well. However, early on in the project, I could see that because it was a public project, at least I believe because it was public, I quickly saw some negative SEO happening on the site. I saw all these links being built that I didn't build, and they were spammy links. They were links I definitely did not want pointing to my site. And so I was worried about it. And sure enough, a few months later, after I saw all the links, I started to have a penalty. My site started to drop in the rankings of Google. And that coincided with the Google Penguin 2.1 release back in October of 2013. So basically, Penguin was a links penalty update. Basically, that coincided with exactly what I thought was going on. Google started to penalize those spammy links that were pointing to my site. This negative SEO, whoever or whatever was happening to generate all of these links, these spammy links, it took its toll and my site started to drop. And so despite what I tried to do, I went through all sorts of recovery efforts that I talked about quite a bit on the blog. You know, basically the first step I went through is I tried to disavow all the links, and I did that. Went through and disavowed thousands of links. I also went the additional step of emailing as many webmasters or websites as I could to get those low quality links removed, but I didn't see any improvement from those efforts. I waited a few months, may have even waited several months. I don't remember the exact dates on all of this, but there was really no improvement. And so then I took the drastic step of moving to a new domain. And so initially I actually moved to a new domain and I did a 301 redirect and quickly saw that that wasn't going to improve anything. So I moved to a second new domain and didn't do any type of redirects to try to disassociate myself with all of those spammy links. Moved to a completely fresh domain, but I put up all the old content because I didn't want to lose all of that. And I thought I was seeing a recovery, but it was very short-lived, not permanent, and the traffic continued to fizzle to the site. So, I spent over a year with kind of these recovery efforts, if you will, and I finally just decided, it's not happening. I'm not making very much money from the site. Let's just shut this project down.
Yep.
And so I was approached by a reader of Niche Pursuits. I still would get emails and Skype messages from people that were following along with the project. And so sometime in early of this year, so almost a year ago, it's November 2015, and it was early in 2015, I was contacted by a reader that really liked the content that was on the Best Survival Knife Guide site. They had a site in a similar niche, and they asked to buy all of the content at a discount from me. And so we struck up a deal. I sold all of the content from the site for about $900 and gave it to this new buyer. And so they took the content and put it on their site. I actually, as soon as I sold the content, I de-indexed my survival knife site completely from Google so that content was no longer recognized, and so that this new buyer could take that new content or take the content and it would be seen as new on their website, at least in terms of Google. And so I think that content's actually done quite well, if I'm not mistaken.
As far as I have heard, that the site that content is on is growing.
Yeah, it's growing, and I may be getting my stories mixed up here, but I believe that new buyer actually sold the website that the content went on. I may be mistaken.
Yeah, I think it was his other site.
Yeah. No, I think maybe you're right. But the site that they put the content on is still doing well.
I think it is worth mentioning that we're not sure why it recovered, because we've seen similar recovery efforts work on other sites. So, for example, before the PBN update, I had started a bunch of other sites. One of them was in the beauty niche. It got negative SEO'd hard. In fact, everybody who was in the top 10 for a particular keyword got negative SEO'd really badly. And I let that sit for like 4 months thinking it was dead. And then someone's like, just disavow it. It takes like 10 minutes. And I did that, and it recovered in like, I don't know, a week or something. And of course, it got destroyed by the PBN update. But also, like Health Ambition, the site that Gail runs over at Authority Hacker, that's been negative SEO'd a lot. And, he's never had a problem. He just keeps his disavow file updated. So we're really not sure what happens. And anybody out there who is scared of negative SEO, because I get a lot of questions about it, I don't think it's a huge issue. This particular site, for whatever reason, just couldn't recover.
Yeah, and I've never seen any negative SEO from any of my other sites. This is the only one. Right. So it's I want to say it's a fairly rare occurrence. So for most people, they don't have to worry about it. This was a public project, so that just opened up the floodgates of potential problems. And that was just one that happened. But that's it for the site, right? I sold the content. I de-indexed it. I don't even have a domain that's related to survival knives anymore. Like, it's over. So the project, as of now, is officially over. So that's why I wanted to record this and update people, because I still get questions. Hey, whatever happened to Niche Site Project 1? Well, that's what happened. And the project's over.
I do think it's probably also important to point out a couple of the really important things that came out of that project. So the first one was, to my knowledge, it was one of your first sites, or at least the first major success with Amazon Associates. Is that correct?
That is correct. I'd always pretty much done Google AdSense.
Yeah, and so really cool. If I remember reading it, because I wasn't affiliated with Niche Pursuits or Long Tail Media back then, you didn't really know how it was going to do. You just wanted to avoid AdSense because people can see your AdSense ID and click bomb you and get your account banned, and you had a whole bunch of other sites on AdSense. Is that right? Yeah,
I'd actually forgotten all about that, but you're right. It's been 3 years, but you're right. I pretty sure, I had an Amazon Associates ID, but I had never built a site really trying to use it, right? I think I had linked to a couple of books previously on just some random site. So you're totally right. Yeah. This was sort of a breakthrough in terms of, getting familiar with the Amazon Associates program and seeing the success that was there, and opened a whole floodgate. Another sort of mini success here is opened up a whole floodgate for these Amazon comparison charts.
Yeah, that's the other thing I was going to say.
I know I wasn't the first one to do a comparison chart, but in sort of our little community of people building small affiliate niche websites, I went through the whole process of figuring out how I can provide true value. And the way that I decided to do that was to create this comparison chart between all these different survival knives. I did ratings and reviews on the top 20 or so, and showed people how to create these charts. And boy, it is almost impossible now to do a Google search and not see somebody that's using the exact same chart or WordPress plugin or doing something very similar to what I introduced about 3 years ago.
Yeah, it's really crazy. I mean, and it's fun too, because you came up with that idea because you were thinking about the user experience, and now it is hands down the best practice for Amazon associate sites. Yeah. And I think it's good and bad too, because, sure. I think it's great from a user experience perspective. Comparison charts are really good. I also think there are a lot of lazy site builders out there who are doing bad comparison charts, which can, kind of rub off and give everybody a bad name. And if there are enough of them, users might become desensitized or whatever. But overall, coming out with a best practice or stumbling on a best practice or inventing a best practice basically out of the ether, I think is really cool.
Yeah. No, I think some great things came out of it. I still have tons of people that say that they followed along with the first niche site project. They built a site right along with me, and that site, their sites are still doing well, or it introduced them into a whole new business model that they've been able to earn money from. And so that feels good. There's a lot of people out there that have followed these strategies and are still earning good money to this day. And so for that, even though the site we built is now gone, because it was so public and it got sort of these links that we couldn't control. So I'm not earning money per se directly from the project, but lots of other people are, and that feels pretty good.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. So I don't think there's anything else to say about Niche Site Project 1. I wanted to record this podcast to wrap it up, give people an update. And so there it is. I mean, it was a success. I made, something like $6,000 from the site overall. So I did put a little bit of money in my pocket. I had a great public project that I got to share best practices with people, and then tons of people learned from that and are earning money from their own websites. So overall, Niche Site Project 1 definitely was a big success, but it's now over. So with that, let's move on to Niche Site Project 2, shall we?
Yeah.
This one, Perrin is very familiar with.
Oh, yeah.
So the second niche site project, just a quick recap, I wanted to make it slightly different from the first one. So this started around mid-2013. I wanted to bring in a student. And so I wanted to teach somebody else how to build a niche site from scratch to kind of prove that, hey, I don't have all of I don't have a magic bullet. It's not just me, but anybody can do this. And so went through a whole application process, got feedback from readers of Niche Pursuits, took polls, and it was a very involved process. But at the end of the day, wouldn't you believe it, I picked Perrin as my student.
Man.
And so that is actually how Perrin and I got introduced for the very first time. We didn't know each other before this project started, but the readers and I, sort of narrowed in on Perrin as the best applicant, and together we built a site. So kind of cool, isn't it?
Yeah, it seems like so long ago, but yeah, it's awesome.
It does. It was just a little over 2 years ago. It almost seems like longer than that, though, doesn't it?
Yeah, kind of. I mean, time flies when you're having fun. So maybe I don't know what we're doing then, but it does seem like a long time ago.
Right.
Maybe it just seems like we've been friends forever. Who knows?
It's a good thing.
Yeah.
So to give a quick recap on the Niche Site project, I picked Perrin as my student. We went through, we recorded webinars, we recorded all kinds of videos. We documented the whole process very in depth, from picking a niche, picking keywords, content creation, all sorts of things, link building, and the project worked very, very well. Perrin was a good student. He took what I sort of suggested and he ran with it and even expanded in some areas. And to just fast forward up to kind of the last updates that we did, the site did well. It ranked in Google, #1 in Google for best safety razor was kind of the first keyword that we wanted to rank for. But then it went on and started ranking for hundreds and probably thousands of different keywords in Google very quickly.
Yep.
By March of 2014, the site was earning just over $2,000 per month. And I think that was kind of the last official income report that we did. The site was doing so well at that point, and we were so afraid of what happened to the first Niche Site Project site that we kind of wanted people to forget about it. We wanted to sort of shrink away into the shadows and no longer make it so public, at least stop talking about it.
Right.
Because it was doing so well. I remember having some of these conversations with you, Perrin, about, man, we should not talk about this site anymore. It's like a real moneymaker. I mean, $2,000 a month is pretty good money.
Yeah, it's like having a $40,000 a year job, basically, is what that comes out to. Because Amazon earnings are after taxes, so
yep.
It's all net. It goes into your pocket. So it was like having an extra salary. It was awesome.
Yeah. And by March 2014, actually, maybe you remember better. Do you remember the month or the day that I hired you, that you officially started working for me full time?
It was like December 15th, 2013.
Yeah.
So,
no, awesome. Yeah, so I was going to say, by March, I mean, you were already working for me full time.
Yeah, and here's the thing, too, about that. Is that I went into it our goal for that project was to earn $500 a month. So when I saw that it broke 1,000, I was just so stoked. And then when I figured out that by just adding some content, I could drastically increase the earnings, it was just like unbelievably cool to me. I felt like I could really have a business. And by March, I was, earning $2,000 a month or something. And at that point, it was very passive. I could add content if I wanted to, but I didn't have to. So, yeah, it was just a way bigger success than we thought it was going to be.
Yeah, big time. And I mean, I was at the point in my business where I was trying to manage all sorts of things. I was managing Longtail Pro business. I still had my own niche site portfolio, and I wanted to be building out more niche sites. And I just didn't have the time. So that's why I hired you, is to come on. You did such a great job building your own niche site. I was like, well, I'm going to hire him full time and have him build out niche sites for me.
Especially because we had this new Amazon business model,
right?
Which was still relatively new at that point.
Yeah, at least for us. Right. Exactly. And so, but the earnings of the site didn't stop there. I mean, we stopped sharing income updates, but by August of 2014, and it kept earning over $2,000 a month from March on, but by August, it was almost at $4,000.
June, actually, I think.
Oh, was it June? Yeah. Okay, maybe that's right. June is kind of when it peaked, but it was still consistently over $3,000, a month by August and September. Let's see, August 2014, and then we'll get to what happened in September, right? So we were super happy, and again, even though I was involved in the coaching of the site, like all of this was Perrin's money. Like he owned the site 100%. Mm-hmm. Like that was part of the deal. Like, hey, I've got my own sites that I'm doing. You build this site and it's yours. So, but I was super happy for Perrin. He was making bank. Plus he was working for me full time on top of that. Yeah. But then, what happened, Perrin? Maybe I'll let you tell the story.
We used a service called Rank Hero to build links to the site. It was a very well-known service. It was run by both Spencer and Hayden Miyamoto from No Hat Digital, and it was basically a PBN that you could buy links on. It was a huge network. It was very well protected. It was, done the right way, but obviously it was public. So we started getting wind of people who were using this network getting penalized by Google manually. And they were all getting the same penalty, which was thin content, right? So we kind of suspected that somebody had found that network and was penalizing all of the sites, but we didn't think that we had thin content on a lot of our sites. I felt like the content on A Penny Shaved was particularly good, and so we thought we were relatively safe. Didn't really change anything, and then woke up one morning and saw the penalty in my inbox. And A Penny Shaved got hit first. But at that point, we also had a portfolio of sites that was nearing the 5 figures per month that we also lost. So it was a huge blow, and it started me on this road of recovery efforts that, in hindsight, I learned a lot from, but really just caused me a lot of stress because I was worried about it the whole time. But I ended up adding like 50,000 words of really valuable high-end content to the site and disavowing all the domains, and Rank Hero had disappeared at that point. So I sent some token emails to them asking them to remove the links and getting emails back that said, hey, we no longer exist, so I could show those to Google. Did everything that I could think of basically to recover the site, and it just kept getting rejected in my reconsideration request. So at some point, I just had to come to terms with the fact that the site couldn't be revived, and that I had to move on. And I tried some other stuff since then, but that was basically the end of that site.
Yeah, and to give people some time frame, it wasn't like you just spent a couple of weeks on trying to recover it here. I mean, the penalty was September 2014, and I mean, we're now November 2015. But you spent, many months. I
spent September, October, November, and December trying to recover. It was in mid-December or at the end of November that I bought another site that already existed. And I ended up scrapping that one too because I think it had like some sort of shadow penalty somewhere. But I spent almost 4 months, at least 3 months, trying to recover the site.
Yeah.
And I don't know if anybody has tried outsourcing writing. If you have, you know it's pretty hard no matter what you do. Outsourcing writing that can fit into existing content seamlessly is really much harder than just having new articles written. So I was trying to manage like 4 or 5 writers and I'm also working full time for Spencer, and we've had a catastrophe in our business at that point, right? So I was trying to like juggle 4 or 5 writers and add all this content, and basically it was just a nightmare, and I should have cut my losses and move on because I tried to game Google and I lost basically. It hurt. Much happier now, but at the time it was awful, man. It was bad. If you want to see my mental state, just go listen to that podcast, which was the Google I'll Never Use a PBN podcast.
That was a tough podcast.
Yeah,
to record, and I initially wrote a blog post that, let's see if I can get the title right, basically said, all right, Google, you win. I'll never use a private blog network again.
Right.
And I mean, that title says it all. And to this day, I have not only not used a PBN link, I have never been tempted to use a PBN link at all. It's been a year and a few months. And so I'm clean. I feel like a recovering alcoholic. Like, I have not had a drink of PBN for a year and a couple of months, and I'm happy.
Not only that, but we kind of discovered that white hat link building can be easier than cheaper than PBNs, you know, especially if you're building a PBN yourself. And you don't need to invest much in link building to see if a site is working anyway.
Yeah.
And then by the time you see if it's working, you can reinvest it into someone who can send outsourced emails or an agency or whatever to hand your links. So, no regrets for not using PBNs. And in fact, we've spoken against PBNs quite a bit since then. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And so there's so many other routes that you can go. And that's a whole other discussion about link building and et cetera, whether or not you even want to build links. We interviewed Claire Smith, of course. She doesn't build any links, and she has a 5-figure per month niche site portfolio.
Yeah.
Or you can do, white hat link building, which in a lot of cases is faster and easier and more effective, and cheaper. So anyways, we don't like PBNs.
But that site was super fun while it lasted, and I think there are some really good lessons that we learned from that site too. And if you look at the two projects side by side, you can see the evolution, and you can probably see where we're going next, because we already have sites that are there that you guys just don't know about really. But we learned a lot of good lessons from that one too. The first one I think is the power of branding a site. So a penny shaved was not an exact match keyword. And I think branding the site and giving the site a really specific voice helped me form relationships and get some really good links and do some really good marketing.
Mm-hmm.
We really hadn't done that before. I certainly hadn't done it before anyway. But we create a strong brand for the site. And because of that, it was really positioned to grow. And I had a lot of plans to grow it into sort of a men's lifestyle site. And it would have been, I think, very easy given that it was a strongly branded site.
Totally.
And the other one was the power of investing heavily in an emerging market, especially an emerging hobby market. Anybody who's kind of been on the internet at all has seen lots of shaving and beard stuff coming up in the last like 5 years. So like Dollar Shave Club, Wet Shave Club, Beard Club. There's like major beard fashion trends. So hopping on the train of an emerging market with a huge market cap, I think did a lot for the site too. So from the first project to the second project, you can see how maybe the lessons were more tactical in the first one. And as we start to develop our processes, they're turning more into business lessons and marketing lessons.
Yeah, no, good points. For sure. And Perrin alluded to, I mean, it's not like we stopped building sites after these niche site projects. I mean, we were building other sites that we never publicly talked about during these projects, and we're still building sites. And we have some very recent successes, sites that are growing rather quickly, getting lots of Google traffic. And we're really excited about one of those being the site associated with my Amazon FBA products. You know, I've talked about selling my products on Amazon, but I'm also building out an e-commerce site that sells my own product. I almost just said the name of my product again on the site, but we're building it into an organic traffic machine as well. So we're producing lots of original content. Anyways, and the strategies we're using today are working very, very well. The traffic is increasing significantly over the last few weeks, couple of months, and have a lot of great plans for it going forward.
And we're building on the lessons from the first and second projects too. So with this Amazon FBA niche site, we're building on the first one maybe by rethinking our table strategy. So we have different types of tables. Maybe we can write about that at some point, but maybe we don't want to see hundreds of copycats again. I don't know. But these tables are more effective and less intrusive. And we're also building on the second one because we've created two different brands, one brand for the product and one brand for the site. And they're working together, which I think is really cool. And doing all this stuff has allowed us to create a site where the RPM so far has been over $100, which is really awesome. It's kind of the benchmark if you're going to create a site. To have an RPM over $100 is really spectacular, and it's held as the traffic increased. So, and we're learning.
Yeah, no, we are learning, and just because it's always fun to kind of give people some numbers here. So that newer Amazon FBA site, I mean, it's very new. But the traffic is increasing already this month. It's only the 11th of November. What was the latest earnings? $250? $40? Just about $240 in Amazon Associates earnings this month already. And again, that's just us referring people to Amazon for other products. If we include the earnings from our own products, because I can see people clicking on the links, they go to Amazon and buy my own product. That's another, it looks like, if I'm not mistaken, another $315 in earnings. So whatever that is, $550.
Yeah, very feasible to break $1,000 with the site this month overall.
Yeah, exactly. In November. And boy, the growth hasn't even started. It's just barely begun. We're adding a ton of content and doing some really cool things with the site. And so, I'm very excited. This is going to grow into a nice little business.
Yeah.
So with that, I want to call it Niche Site Project 2 is over.
It's over.
It's over. It's done. The site is still out there. It's still, a Penny Shave does still get a trickle of traffic between, I don't know, something like 100 to 200 visitors a day. But it's just a trickle, and it doesn't earn a lot of money because we removed a lot of the affiliate links to try and recover the site and that sort of thing. And so, it's still there. You can still go look at it. There's still a trickle. But we've so moved on from the project, a year ago. So I just want to call the project over. So if anybody ever asks me again, hey, what happened to that site? They're going to listen to this podcast. That's what happened. It's over.
Or if you want to buy it, shoot me an email because I don't have any reason to keep it. So
yeah. And I mean, I know we've mentioned this, but Perrin also has another personal site on his own. And it's doing quite well. What were the earnings on that site last month?
Like $2,500, and this should be its first $3,000 month. It looks like
$2,500 last month. Congrats.
Yeah, and my personal site, I feel like so far is really the culmination of everything I've learned, and it's a fun site because I'm using the monetization method I know best, Amazon, to get it started. But it's positioned really well to do much bigger things than just Amazon.
Yep.
So I'm going to sit on it, maybe add some affiliate content for this year, and then 2016 will be when I start trying to learn some new stuff and putting it in there. I don't know what I'm going to do, but I think it's clear to me right now that if I want it to be a 5-figure site, I need to do something in addition to Amazon. So but it's super fun, and I think the thing that I did for that site that really I learned from A Penny Shaved was the strong branding. So I worked very, very hard on the brand for this site and even had to redo it because of some legal issues with a different brand. But but the brand is basically at the center of everything. It's at the center of the writing. It's at the center of the outreach. It's at the center of the relationships. It's how I'm positioning myself as an expert when I do the occasional guest blog. So it's basically using this Amazon tactic to help launch a bigger business, which is cool. And it's exactly what we're doing with our Amazon FBA site. We are using the Amazon Associates method to boost the other part of the business, which is much more profitable. So I think that would be a lesson as we move on to the next thing, and maybe we should talk about that.
I think we should. I mean, so we did Niche Site Project 1, went well. We did Niche Site Project 2, it went well, but they're both over. So what should we do with ourselves?
I don't know.
Is the question. So without further ado, we will introduce you to Niche Site Project 3. So we have decided that we are going to do a third niche site project. We're going to come back and things will be a little bit different. Our business has evolved a little bit in different areas. And so we feel like it's time. It's been, over 2 years since we started the last niche site project. And, now about a year since the last one really kind of ended. So I think it's important to give people a sneak peek into how we run our business behind the scenes and now do this publicly. So I'm not going to share exactly how Niche Site Project 3 is going to work, partly because we haven't 100% decided how we're going to go about orchestrating this whole thing. But there is going to be a little bit of a twist. It will be slightly different than the other two niche site projects, but we will be announcing that via a blog post here shortly, probably within a few days of listening to this podcast. It will be out there. And anyways, so Niche Site Project 3 is going to happen. It's going to be starting very soon. And it should be a good one. We plan to share everything we've learned, updated strategies, and hopefully it's something everybody can learn from.
Yeah, I think that's important to say too, is that the niche site projects, I think, are one of the best educational vehicles we have available to take somebody who is not an expert and have expert coaching and have them do the work from start to finish and document all of it. It's just such good training, not only for them, but for everybody. Plus, it gives us a chance to showcase evolved strategies and evolved monetization methods and evolved marketing and all the other stuff that we've learned and we are working on every single day. And you know what? It's just, like, it's fun for the readers, and it feels super good to help someone create a business for themselves. You know, like maybe someone's going to quit their job after this, and so there's it's fun, it's educational, and I think it's kind of noble, as cheesy as that sounds. Who knows?
No, I am excited about it. The more and more I've thought about this, the more excited I get. It kind of takes me back to my roots of at least sharing publicly building niche sites. I do find it funny sometimes that people that read my blog, and I've been talking about Amazon FBA so much lately, they say, man, why did you stop building niche sites? You know, that's why I come to Niche Pursuits. And well, we never stopped building niche websites. We've always been building them for years. I mean, anyways, we've always been doing that. It's just I haven't been sharing them publicly, right, as much as I had previously. So this niche site project will give me a chance to share some things publicly again that I know people really like, and people will hopefully enjoy and follow along with, and like you said, learn from. So there you have it. Niche Site Project 3 is going to happen. That's just a little bit of a teaser. Sorry we don't have more meat to share about what Niche Site Project 3 will be all about, but that information will be coming very soon, so hope that you will follow along. So any closing words, parting thoughts, Perrin, before we shut it down?
Maybe just a special thank you to anybody who has been through all of the niche site projects so far and has read and commented on both of them, because they were both just like massive case studies. They were, you know, many thousands, I mean, at least a couple books worth of content and just dozens of hours of video and stuff. So if you have been there reading and watching and commenting and listening and giving feedback, thanks, because that's what makes it fun.
Yeah. Absolutely. No, we appreciate the involvement. I mean, it's really a community approach. This would be really boring if it was just me posting things and nobody was responding and there wasn't interaction, and, you know, I couldn't hear your stories, people emailing me and saying, hey, I did this and this, built this site. So it's really cool. It's a lot of fun for me and hopefully a lot of fun for you guys. So thanks for listening in to the podcast. We look forward to sharing more for Niche Site Project 3 in the very near future.
Yeah, and real quick, maybe this is a good opportunity to ask what you would like to see from Niche Site Project 3, especially if you're one of those people who has seen both of them. So
yeah,
if you are listening to this on the Niche Pursuits website, go ahead and leave a comment. Tell us what you'd like to see. And if you're on iTunes, head over to nichepursuits.com. This will be the latest blog post if you're listening in November anyway.
Yeah,
so
perfect. No, that sounds good. Having feedback is always appreciated, so please feel free to do that. With that, we'll wrap up the podcast. As always, if you do want to leave a rating or review on iTunes, you can go to nichepursuits.com/iTunes. Every little bit helps. If you're enjoying the podcast, we'd appreciate it. Other than that, feel free to stop by over at nichepursuits.com. Jump in, join the community, leave a comment or two, and of course, we'll always respond to that. So once again, thanks a lot for listening in, and best of luck in your business.